I love that you were very transparent about, not everything was a shoo-in. You had to work really fucking hard.
Yeah.
And being let go and being told no is
Totally
such
sucks.
a crucial part of your story.
And I think not enough people like the one job I got let go from was it was a digital marketing, digital advertising agency. And we work with a lot of different clients, Netflix, like some really big accounts. And it was like, I got hired kind of like for the wrong thing. And then I got kind of thrown into this quasi role of like part finance, part HR, part whatever. And I was like, I'm a high level EA. Like this is not like what I thought the role was. And like at the time, it's like, I just didn't know enough to just be like, this isn't working. This isn't a good fit. I kept like trying to make it work, like square peg, round hole, because you're young and you're like trying so hard to be this thing. And I remember I got called in at 6 p.m. on a Monday and I was like, that can't be fucking good. And I got let go from that job. And that was one where I walked back to my desk. My desk was like locked down. I got like paraded out of the office because it was so under wraps with like, and like to me, it's like, I'm just not the kind of person that would think like, oh, let me go get these like secretive files and like fuck shit up for this company.
I know.
But I guess like people
Some
do
people
that.
do.
So it's just weird in the sense of like, you get paraded out. You don't keep any of your contacts. You can't say bye to anybody. It's kind of like fucked up. And nobody talks about those type of moments, or we're like, okay, like how no one asks you how you are. Nobody asks if you're okay. Like nobody gives a fuck about you. And that moment in your car alone, it was like such a visceral cry. I call it like the Kim Kardashian, like ugly cry. Cause I remember just being so broken with like, oh, like that was such a gutted feeling. And people don't showcase their failures, whether it makes them uncomfortable or they don't want to. But I think when we showcase things like that and we talk about things like that, it makes it acceptable when you have moments like that, because it gives people the wherewithal to be like, okay, I know I can keep going from here, even though the suck is like, now like I'm in it right now.
I think it's just a stepping stone along the way, rather than feeling like it has to be this ultra defining moment. And maybe it is for positive reasons too, but like it's also, I saw, this thing the other day, and this woman was like, well, what if I told you that you need to go through 20 no's until you get that one yes? And you would start looking at those no's or those sorries or hey, not right now as a positive rather than a negative. But because we don't know exactly how many it's going to take, it's so hard for us to get there. But like, we need to stop being ashamed of those no's and feeling like it's the end of the world each time they come. They're there for a reason, and they're part of the process for a very specific cause. And like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And I, like going back to like LA and stuff, like when I had gone, my dad had said to me, don't do well. That was his email. He wrote me this email, and it was like the sweetest thing in the entire world. The subject line of the email was "Don't do well."
Yeah.
And then the entire body of the email, like, oh my God, I could cry just thinking about it. But he was like, "Don't do well, because what is well? Okay, you make enough money to survive. You're happy. You do okay. You're feeling all right. But like, are you really doing what you're meant to do? Are you really going above and beyond? Do you feel fulfilled if you're just doing well?" Like if you're doing well, maybe you'll come back, for Christmases, but you'll be working the grind and doing your thing. He's like, if you're going to go out there, like, you better do better than well. Like and I was like, Dad, could you have started the email with that first? Like, please. Like, he was like, like, get to a point where like you feel fulfilled in all categories of your life, and that's not going to happen overnight, but make that your goal. Don't just go there. He's like, don't worry about the people that are like, oh, why'd she do it? Like, so you can come back and be like, oh no, I'm doing really well, everything's great. Forget about all of that. Go out there and figure out why it is you felt the need to go out there, and run with it and soar. And if it's not for you, that's okay. But if it is, then like, show yourself, not anybody else, why you went. And by continuing to like move forward as best as you can. And again, like, bringing it back, is just not everybody has that. Like, I don't think that if I didn't have the support of my family, I would have been able to go. And it breaks my heart for some people that it can't always just like go for it anyway, you know?
I think that feeling, one, a support system is huge, but I think being able, it's having the confidence to stand on your own 2 feet. And I obviously coach a lot in confidence, and it really, I think it is ignited by the feeling of being so fucking fed up with yourself, of not putting yourself out there, or like not trying or not doing the thing. You get to a point where the levee breaks, and that's where you actually stand up on your own 2 feet and you're like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. You have that like no turning back moment. The bridges are burned, whatever. But I think to get to that moment, it takes so much that I don't know. I hope to God everybody has that moment where they like choose themselves and they can stand on their own 2 feet confidently. But I don't know.
Yeah, because at some point you have to be able to like prove it to yourself and want to be able to show, regardless of financial stability, a support system, family, friends, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, it's you and you.
Yeah.
And you've got to know when push comes to shove, when you have nothing else left, who are you when, you know, shit hits the fan? Yeah. And I think it's about figuring that part out too. And it's huge for your identity and figuring out how you handle things, how you process things, how you look at things, and getting out of your bubble too, especially New England. It's just such a very small shell, and it's nice to go and try something new. Yeah. But it's what's funny, I think, about your journey in particular is you kept going after this specific industry that interested you. Well, all along you had this passion that you never really thought about putting into a career. You were going to the gym. You were always into your fitness journey, and that was always something that was important to you. But
it just never clicked
until enough people had said something to you. Yeah. Now, do you have that like realization of, oh my gosh, of course it was here all along? Or do you feel like I don't know if people had told me, if it wasn't for other people, I may not have ever done this. Do you think you would have come to the realization on your own?
Yeah, I think I probably would have. It's just like how many times you have to like hit your head against the wall before you do it. But one thing I do look back on is in that last job I had, that was like the what was it? The ad agency job. Yeah. It's like I was still chasing the passions outside. I just didn't really consider it like, it was kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Because at the time I was taking a yoga certification that was like a 300-hour or something like that. So I would work all day, and then Thursday and Friday I would go to yoga from like 5 to 10 o'clock at night. And then I was there on Saturday and Sunday all weekend from like 8 in the morning till like, 3 or 4 or 5 at night. And it was like to put in these hours for this certification. So I was working like literally 60 to whatever plus hour work week. I don't even remember, because just some nights I remember being there till like almost midnight, like doing God knows what. And just putting in these crazy hours and then taking every spare moment of time outside of that to then go chase the thing that I really hadn't connected yet. I was just like, oh, I'm going to get my license so that I can like go teach yoga.
Yeah.